In France, streaming has turned lethal in the case of Jean Portmanov, and we're going to get into that today on The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and this is a Fast Facts version, which is a quick and dirty version of all the latest in legal news. If you like the Fast Facts, please make sure to leave a comment below, and if you appreciate this topic and appreciate my coverage, please let me know as well by liking the video. So this is something that, once again, we're getting into a serious topic, and I hate it to be kind of a trend, and it has been kind of lately, of there being very serious topics that I indeed have to cover. But this is one that jumped out to me as something that I should cover because I had several people reach out to me that are familiar with kind of the streaming ecosystem and tell me, Andrew, this is like the Somali case, but in some ways worse because it involves kind of the extremes of streaming and doing certain things that really never even happened there.
Jamali or whatever his name is,
really is circulating right now in a foreign language, mostly in French and in Francophone circles and media, but not in English. So as with the Somali case, which first started circulating in Korean media and really with Korean streamers, and then jumping over to mass media, jumping over to everybody, this is something I'm going to communicate to you guys because it's really important. And I think this is one of the instances where we can see cultures kind of sharing our information in order to create a better ecosystem and a better content ecosystem, and certainly to protect against both criminal activity and liability. So once again, today in this case, which we're talking about, which happens in France, I've got a couple warnings and disclaimers. Well, first of all, this is something that does involve a death. So once again, as always, when this happens, please be respectful in the chat. If you're in the live chat or in the comments as well, we just try to be respectful of everybody involved. We do not know all of the facts yet. I'm giving you an initial report, which if I find anything that's incorrect, if I make a misstatement, if I had information that was mistranslated, I will issue a correction. I will have an update, but I'm just getting that out there as soon as possible. And this also deals with content that indeed talks about humiliation, talks about, there's some, obviously some physical stuff going on in here. So if you're particularly sensitive to any of that, please
people are saying that he was being tortured on the live stream
in a very respectful and
for money
and in a professional manner, focusing on
so basically this is what I know, that people were just giving donations so their friends keep torturing this dude. How messed up that is.
The greater policy in the law. So first of all, another disclaimer, I'm not a French lawyer. This is not French legal advice. I'm simply observing and looking at broader considerations, particularly also considerations for the platforms themselves, such as Kick and TikTok, which we're generally hosting as content. And I'm also not implying guilt on any party.
It's on Kick, guys.
Involved. This is,
what a surprise.
Until proven guilty, we don't have an assignment of liability yet. We just have what appears to levy some risks for certain people involved. Certainly the people involved are at risk of investigation, certainly at risk if things turn out a certain way of liability or criminality. We don't know yet. And so what that means is more investigation is necessary, both by law enforcement and the platforms themselves. And respect should at all times be given to the deceased and their family. And that's something that I think is important above all. So let's get to the streamer. The streamer here is Raphael Gravin, aka Jean Portmanov. He was a streamer who had a very large audience on Kick and TikTok. I noticed before his Kick was taken down, which it was, because he
how old is this guy?
Stream, so obviously they're not going to keep that information up on the platform. But he was quite popular, almost 200,000. I think it was a 193,000 followers on Kick. So very large following there on that platform as well as on TikTok. Crazy. Now he died at age 46. He died on stream on the 17th. And
dying
18th,
on the stream.
An investigation has been opened by law enforcement, but they're still, according to latest reports, waiting on an autopsy, which will tell us a lot about how he died. It has been reported that he, by some sources, that he had a heart condition and was taking heart medication. So certainly if he died of cardiac arrest or something related to that, that would lead people to think, is there a causal chain? Did something cause him to have abnormal stress on his heart? Did he have abnormal pressure? Whatever.
Read what he says here.
Conditions?
Look at it. Says here. This was 10 days and nights of torture, extremely physically violence, sleep deprivation, and ingestion of toxic substance.
That would have led to that or could have contributed to that. And in this case, there is a situation, because what we had 10 days before was 10 days of humiliation on stream by his friends. And I'm putting quote unquote friends because it is hotly debated from what I've seen in the Francophone circles and in media, whether these people are his true friends or whether they were streamers that were taking advantage of him. They go by the name of Naruto, Owen, Senza Zandati, and Safine. There were others involved as well. There's streamers that popped on and involved in this as well, but those two are the ones majorly mentioned, and they've come out and issued statements about this. And they were submitting him to humiliation, some of which I'm going to give you the recap of on the Fast Facts. Of course, the live, I will play some of the videos so they'll see it. But it's been described as 10 days and nights of torture, extreme physical violence, and sleep deprivation, and ingestion of toxic substances. Now, I'm just doing some clips here, but you see here, they've got him here. They've got boxing gloves on. They're punching him, kind of beating him up there. And over here, this is another video.
Who watches these? How listen, how mentally fucked in the head you gotta be to watch someone getting tortured on the internet? I know this is some sick like dark web kind of bullshit, and a lot of people have like these things, but probably it's kids, right? Kids are like very like fucked up adults, you know? Kids, they think it's funny. Everything is funny. You know, loud is funny. Getting a guy getting punched is funny. Jesus.
Yeah, and when you play it, this translation is lets out a mentally ill cry. This reactions and the reactions he often has are reactions you would see in somebody with mental illness. So when I saw him reacting, it was not a normal person reacting. It was definitely something that I think if you look deeply into it, buried into it, there was some mental illness or something going on there in his mentality when you see the reactions. They would shoot him with paintball guns, put him in the kind of locks, you know, and you know, hold him down, etc. You know, punch him, you know, choke him out. You see here, there's a bunch of guys here kind of teaming up. They got his hand around his neck. They're kind of choking him out. They got him barred in there. This guy's just sitting there watching, right? This was this type of content, this humiliation content that they were doing for the past 10 days. See here, he's been pulled back and they're covering him with some substance. I don't know whether they're making him eat it or not, but it's all over him. And one of the most disturbing things to me was both, these are two separate instances and calls, but one of them, this is his friend there, Naruto, who was calling him up and kind of hanging the sword of Damocles of his livelihood and his housing, kind of saying, hey, you've got to do this if you want to stay alive, if you want to have your livelihood, your dreams, you want to, you know, stay inside, you've got to keep doing this. You can't give up.
Bro, look at the amount of money. The sub goal, 26,000 euros. Wow, dude. 215 hours. So probably it was like a subathon, but it was like a torture-a-thon. And the more money they got, the more hours they will do these. Man, but this is a lot of money. That's crazy.
And kind of talking him into continuing this thing. And you can see here's the money tracker, right? So obviously he is making money on this. There's money to be made on this.
Kick torture right? Stream but, coming on. Maybe that's the only way I'm going to pop off on Kick, let's be honest, man. I mean, I already torture myself every day by playing Diablo Immortal, right? But this is another level.
What price? And in this right one, as you see, he's kind of dressed up here. He's got the stockings on, all this. They're humiliating him. He's actually on the phone.
Maybe that's why you guys are subscribed to
and
me,
his mother is begging him to please stop, please leave, please just quit. And, you know, it's really a situation where he was put, you know, between these friends and this lifestyle and, you know, what he was doing on stream, these humiliation streams, and his mom, you know, people care about him saying, hey, look, you know, you should stop this.
Yeah.
And it was really heartbreaking to see that, because you can imagine if you're in that position that you're so desperate that you are having to go against your, you know, mom and others who care about you. That's a very dark place to be. That's a very, very dark place to have to exist for Jean. So what happens here? What are the legal considerations now that he's passed away? And of course, after this, he did pass away on stream while on stream. And even the chat was kind of pointing out, hey, this guy died on stream. So
yeah, casually.
What are the legal considerations here? First of all, a lot of people bring up Section 230. It happens in the comments in the live chat. Guys, this is not US, so obviously we're not applying Section 230. But even if Section 230 was applied, this does not protect any crime. So to the extent that a crime was committed here, that would not be any protection for let's say, a platform under Section 230. Further, waivers and exculpatory clauses, which I believe in the French legal system, once again, I'm not a French lawyer, just did some research. It appears that they also have exculpatory clauses, and it appears they do not protect against criminal behavior. So you can't protect against reckless endangerment, gross negligence, or intentional harm. That's similar to the American system. If you sign up for bungee jumping and they were reckless and they saw the rope was, you know, half cut, and they let you jump anyways and you die because the rope snaps, yeah, that's reckless, right? That's maybe even intentional, right? Yeah, that's not going to get them out of liability. So if you're doing something that is reckless, that is grossly negligent, it's not going to get you out. It appears in many places in the world. And I believe, once again, I'm making the guess here, but from what I've seen, I believe France might be the same way. Also, it appears that France also has contributed.
So, okay, so if you see that the rope it's cut and you let the guy jump anyways, I mean, shouldn't you not be charged by it? I mean, like, you know, and you let him jump in the ways without, like, he doesn't know that it's cut. I will say, like, that's, you know, I mean, it is a gray area. I know that because probably was not the one that cut it, right? It was not like intentional, but if you see it and you do not prevent it, isn't kind of weird that you don't get any charge at least?
Negligence, which in French, fait de la victime. No, that is, contributory negligence is when you may have contributed towards that. I haven't reviewed all the video, and I don't know to what extent Jean may have come and added to it himself. Maybe he was doing something that contributed to the circumstances related to his death. Maybe he was not. That's something that come into play. Now, it does not completely block you from recovering damages in court or block you from liability or criminality, but it can be factored in. So if the party did something, it did something to cause their own problem, then it can be factored in. Now, it's so early. It's way too early. We do not have enough information to assign guilt or liability. So at this point, I'm not saying who's liable here. All I'm saying is when I look back and I look at all of this stuff here,
yeah,
this does not look good. None of this stuff looks good at all. And beyond that, I want to
but also I don't think they intended to kill him. Like that's obvious. They were just doing messed up content. It was going for too long. The guy probably was not sleeping, like on purpose, and this happens. Like maybe like if you saw that, I mean, it's so messed up, guys. I can't even understand who the. It is so hard for me to even put myself in the shoes or to have empathy for someone that even enjoys like this kind of content, right? So that's why I was saying like maybe it is kids, because kids like they enjoy like anything that's like super edgy.
Up the topic of censorship versus free speech, because this is something that's been coming up a lot lately, and I want to make like my position even more clear and kind of articulate this, because while some people may say this type of content needs to be censored or removed completely, I think there is a balance with moderation to protect free speech, and there's a difference, right? So censorship is usually broadly banning content or creators that go against established norms. It's saying, hey, we're going to censor anything that involves anything that would be embarrassing, right? Well, if you censor anything that's embarrassing, that's a lot of content, right? That could be almost everything, right, in terms of content. However, it's censorship isn't just that. Censorship is saying, hey, there's only certain news outlets, and these are the ones we like, and we're only going to let information come through them. It's got almost no transparency. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what the censors are using to, rule one way or another. It's kind of Big Brother out there censoring one thing or another based on a whim.
It's similar to Twitch TOS. Like people get banned, other people show their boobs almost, and they don't get banned. Like nobody knows exactly what he's talking about. Even though if they make like the TOS clear in terms of service of the platforms, it's never like really clear. And I understand, like, because content is, like, subjective and everything has to be, like, taken in consideration, like, sometimes situation by situation. And whenever you do situation by situation, then you also have to be lucky in the moderator that's actually going to be seeing that content. Because some people are more, like, open about certain content. Other people are very unhinged when it comes to it. And for example, on Twitch, I know there's a lot of examples that certain people from the moderation team, they don't like certain streamers because of their ideals or the things that they say, this and that. And whenever they have an opportunity, they'll actually ban them just for the sake of it.
Or based on a trend or whatever else. It's inflexible because really the only solution is you cannot do this. It's not you can do this in one way.
Is it going to show like more stuff?
Censoring it, you can't have this type of content. And I think censorship is indeed a massive threat to free speech. And I think there's many historical instances where we can see that this is a clear threat and it's a problem. It's caused a problem. In the societies where they have had mass censorship, it has indeed long-term caused problems. And ultimately,
I feel like if it is like you were saying, Fade, as long as like it was fake tortured and it was not like actually harmful, but at a certain stage, like what we saw there, it didn't look like he was fake. And maybe it was fake for the beginning, but whenever it goes for this long, like 10 days that you like keep getting tortured, it kind of gets into you, man. And the guy like clearly, it looks mentally ill. I mean, let's be honest. It looks like someone that is getting like taken advantage. You know, it looks like, man. Like what do you like? It's a 46-year-old guy. It doesn't look like it is. Any of these like looks normal to you guys? It doesn't look normal to me, right? So this really reminds me of, unfortunately, in school. We all been in school, right? And there was always like someone in the class, you know, that maybe they were a bit retarded, or maybe they were like not the smartest one, or sometimes like even in school, right? And these people used to always be, you know, bullied by these guys, right? But when I mean these guys, I'm not saying like these guys in specific. I'm talking these about like in stereotypes. It happened a lot of times, like in high schools, and I don't think that got better as times goes by, because now you have the bullying inside the schools. And before, like back in my day, okay, once you got out of the school, you were like, okay, you were at home, you were with your family, you could like restart. But now, whenever you get out of the school, there is the online bullying. So you're getting bullied all the time. You are in school, you get bullied. You go at home, you're scrolling on your smartphone, you get bullied online. So it never stops, man. And I feel like that's the biggest difference, and that's why like newer generations are like, they have like insanely high suicidal suicide, and even like they cut themselves. It's so fucked up, man. I remember like I met this girl, like I was like 27 and she was like 19, and whenever she was teenager, like she used to cut herself. And I had like a very deep conversation with her, like to even try to understand what it takes like someone to even reach to that level, like psychological, right? It's like attention seeking, relieving the pain. It's just like, it was like a whole, like, I tried to empathize, but at the end of the day, it was I was glad that she was over it. But those things, they leave scars, right? And it was messed up. It was messed up, and it was not like that case that you could think, oh yeah, it was like a fat, like chubby girl. No. This was a perfectly fine young lady, man, and there was no reason to it. Like apparently, it looks like there is no reason, but still bullying used to happen. Online bullying, and they took that.
And when you play it,
so yeah, this is like really messed up. If you guys want to watch like the full video, you guys can go. Then he goes like into a very technical things when it comes like to the platforms. But basically, I wanted to see like exactly what happened. I'm gonna leave a like and a subscribe here to Legal Mindset. Sometimes he drops like some cool videos.